All right, let's get into it. We're about to explore one of the most fascinating intellectual showdowns in history, the great debate at the very heart of medieval Jewish philosophy.
And really, this whole entire story boils down to one single question, a question that feels just as urgent today as it did 1,000 years ago. Can faith and reason actually coexist?
Now, to really get this intellectual battle, you first have to understand the battlefield. And we're not just talking about a simple clash of ideas here. No, this was a collision of entire worldviews, all kicked off by a revolutionary moment in history.
You see, for centuries, Jewish intellectual life was really centered on the Talmud, this incredibly rich tradition of law and stories. But then, starting around the 9th century, this powerful new force emerges from the Islamic Golden Age, and it was about to change everything.
I mean, just imagine the scene. In these bustling, vibrant intellectual centers like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba, the forgotten works of Greek thinkers, we're talking Aristotle, Plato, are suddenly rediscovered, translated, and fiercely debated. It's like a whole new universe of thought just cracks wide open.
And the engine driving this whole new universe? It was a little thing called rationalism. Its core claim was absolutely radical for the time, that the human mind, all on its own, could figure out universal truth, without needing a divine message or a prophet to explain it. This idea was, you can imagine, both incredibly exciting and deeply threatening to a faith built on revelation.
So, just like that, the stage was set for a massive crisis. You had two systems of truth that both seemed perfect, philosophy and faith, and they were on a collision course.
And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the dilemma. The logic of Aristotle, it felt undeniable, universal. But the revelation at Mount Sinai, that felt sacred, absolute, eternal. So for Jewish intellectuals, the question was terrifying. What do you do when the two don't line up?
And this wasn't just some abstract academic exercise. It led to some really specific, really challenging questions. Philosophy suggested a perfect, unchanging, abstract God. But the Bible describes a God who gets angry, who changes his mind, who's personal. Aristotle argued the universe was eternal, but Genesis clearly says it was created. These were not minor disagreements. They struck at the very foundations of faith.
So, out of this crisis, two major schools of thought pop up, and they offer two very different paths forward, two totally distinct ways of understanding the nature of truth itself.
So you basically end up with two camps. On one side, you have the rationalists. They believed truth was universal, something anybody could get through pure logic. But on the other side, you have the covenantalists, and they argued that the deepest truths were particular, that they were revealed only through the unique covenant, the special relationship between God and the Jewish people.
The first group, let's call them the synthesizers, they really embraced that rationalist path. Led by brilliant thinkers like Saadia Gaon, they just didn't see a conflict. For them, reason and revelation were like two beautiful, harmonious roads, both leading to the exact same divine peak. Philosophy was just a new tool to prove what faith already knew was true.
But then you had the exceptionalists. Their most famous champion was the poet and philosopher Judah Halevi, and he pushed back hard. He basically argued that the kind of truth you find through the unique prophetic and historical experience of the Jewish people was a higher, more profound truth, one that pure logic could never ever hope to grasp.
Halevi's whole argument kind of boils down to this incredible idea. The God of Aristotle is just an abstract concept, a prime mover, a first cause. But the God of Abraham? That's a character in history. That's the one who acts, who speaks, who took the Israelites out of Egypt. For Halevi, one was just a theory. The other was a real, lived experience.
Okay, so into this incredibly intense debate steps one of the most monumental figures in all of intellectual history, Moses Maimonides. And he wasn't just going to take a side, no. He was going to offer a revolutionary new framework for the entire conversation.
Maimonides saw that people of faith were genuinely struggling. They were, in his words, perplexed by all these contradictions. So he sets out to write his masterpiece, a book literally called A Guide for the Perplexed, designed to lead them through the confusion and prove that faith could be intellectually rigorous.
His method was systematic, and it was pretty radical. Step 1, find a place where scripture and reason seem to clash. Step 2, and this is the absolute key, argue that the contradiction is a signal. It means you're not supposed to take the text literally. Instead, you have to search for a deeper, allegorical meaning, a philosophical truth hidden just beneath the surface.
And this method led to some absolutely staggering conclusions. When the Bible talks about God's hand or God's anger, Maimonides said, hold on, those are just allegories for God's actions. They're not literal descriptions of what God is. For him, the highest form of worship wasn't just ritual. It was the intellectual contemplation of a perfect, rational universe, to truly know God by understanding his creation.
So, who won, the rationalists or the exceptionalists? Well, the answer is what makes this entire period so fascinating.
Truth is, there was no knockout punch. The tension was never really resolved. And maybe that's the whole point. The debate itself, this incredible struggle to reconcile these powerful ideas, it produced one of the richest and most creative eras in Jewish thought. The conversation was the victory.
So to recap, you have Saadia Gaon, who saw reason as the supportive partner to faith. Then you get Judah Halevi, who argued that revelation was a superior truth that reason just couldn't touch. And finally, Maimonides, who saw reason as the very key that could unlock revelation's deepest secrets. 3 brilliant minds, 3 totally distinct paths to truth.
So why does any of this still matter to us today? Because, in a way, we're all living in our own guide for the perplexed. Every single day we face a similar challenge. How do we balance our deeply held values and timeless traditions with the relentless pace of scientific discovery and brand new ways of thinking?
Which leaves all of us with the same question they wrestled with 1,000 years ago. And it's a question that maybe doesn't have a single easy answer. Is truth something we logically discover with our minds? Or is it something that is revealed to our hearts? The debate, well, it continues.